This is Daniel Cerrone, writer of episode 707, Hannah Hayes. You're listening to the Blacklist Exposed on Golden Spiral Media.
Answer a question from a previous episode? Check. Crazy cool ass blacklister? Check. And the mythology moves forward? Double check. Welcome back, Blacklist. And welcome back to all of you to the award-winning The Blacklist Exposed podcast. I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs.
Such a whiner. It never went anywhere. And I am Agent Aaron Peterson, and I, too, love it when people have values. Thanks for joining us once again as we discuss number 125 on the Blacklist, Hannah Hayes. It was written by Daniel Cerrone and directed by Adam Weisinger. Show notes and other intel for this episode of The Blacklist Exposed can be found at theblacklistexposed.com.
How you feeling there, Aaron? Tummy bothering you at all?
No, I'm good.
Good.
I'm good.
Just gotta
I'd be
check.
fine if I woke up and I was preggers. I would just go and milk it for all it was worth. I would call the Inquirer first thing and be like, get over here. Guess what? This governor, I don't understand what he's like, I gotta keep it all secret. Screw that. I tell everybody. Miracle of science, bitches.
All I was thinking about was 12 weeks of FMLA. Sounds awesome.
Oh, boy, you're going to get letters. Good job.
You get a whole year in Canada.
Yeah, well, everything's better in Canada.
It sure is. It sure is. It's really close to Anchorage, too, because we'll hear about what we thought from all of you on that question about Anchorage.
Was that your segue?
That's what I tried to do anyway.
Well done. Hashtag sarcasm.
And we'll also get into the case profile for Hannah Hayes, and then we'll get your special agent intel at the end of the episode, plus some wise words from Red's rhetoric for when Aaron and I go camping next time.
Aha.
So with that, what do we think the answers to Anchorage are all about there, Aaron?
Well, our question last week was, what do you think happened in Anchorage? We've got a couple of responses that were worth noting. Ben Parman, she was drunk as hell and made out with Red. Why not?
There's a lot of people that probably like that in the audience.
Why not?
Mike Berger said Park was on a secret assignment to hunt Katarina, or she was working for Katarina and now she's on the inside.
Julie Hoa, I hope I said that right. She was actually transferred to New York City after an act of violence against a coworker or a criminal.
I don't know why you'd get transferred for beating up a criminal. That's why you go to New York City, right?
Wow.
Just kidding.
Wow.
Coming to America. Judy Miller, don't we have this wrong? Isn't the question in the show not what happened in Anchorage or what Park did in Anchorage? It's all about why she wanted to be stationed in Anchorage in the first place when she could have selected any other post. Is that not a better question?
That is kind of a better question, but she answered it. The weather.
The weather.
She likes it cold. I don't know. People are weird. Linda Dorland, last one. So searching through the scripts, I found searching through the scripts. What are you doing? You're going through the scripts to find this?
I guess.
That is dedication. Ooh. I mean, I barely watch the actual show. I just like look at the TV guide listening and just guess what happens most of the time.
We use that 2X feature on Netflix.
I hate 2X. It's just, why do people, I don't get it. All right. So searching through the scripts, I found the following. In Luther Braxton 2-9 and 2-10, 2-9 and 210. You know what I'm saying? The prison was evidently off the coast of Alaska in the Bering Sea. The show actually showed a map of Juneau, but it was supposed to be Anchorage. Then a Mombasa cartel to 6, the farm, Igaluk Ranch, say that 3 times real fast, was the home of former members of the Animal Underground, located in, wait for it, Anchorage, Alaska, where wrestler almost met his death by the taxidermy giant guy. And of course, last, Liz was in Alaska where she killed all those dudes. I am betting one of these 3 might have a connection to Park, as almost everything in the Blacklist has a connection somewhere, or all of this is meaningless.
I'm going to vote for Soapy Giant because I loved Soapy Giant.
I wouldn't mind Soapy Giant coming back. I like Soapy Giant.
He was fun.
Next week's profiling question with this episode, we're hitting this one last time. Is there more than enough evidence to confirm for you that this is the Katarina Rostova?
See, I love the way that you asked that question. It's totally like a lexical ambiguity because you didn't actually specify which character in the show that you think is the Katarina Rostova.
The woman that everyone in the show is calling Katarina Rostova. Do you think that's the Katarina Rostova? The one that even Red and Dembe, everyone in the privacy of their own RV, calls Katarina Rostova. Do you believe that is the Katarina Rostova? That's what I'm asking.
Cleared it up. That's all.
Clarifying. That's the clarification.
All right. Well, thanks for all that answer this week. Now, before we break our pinky promise, let's dig into this week's case profile.
I love this episode. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. It's timely. It's pointed. It has something to say, but it doesn't in a very Blacklist way. I do believe many are going to hate this episode because of personal politics, which I totally understand, because I can see how that would be a problem for some people, because it's directly pointed at the heartbeat laws, where it's considered murder to have an abortion once a heartbeat is detected. I'm not one of those people. I really just kind of take every episode of television as an episode of television, and I enjoy when they can take a modern issue and take it for a little Blacklist spin, which is what they did here. And not heavy-handed like that one cop episode.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember. It was last season or season before. That was too much.
The Cooper cop episode, right?
Yeah, I did not like. That's too heavy-handed. That felt like the right level.
What about you? Excited to see what the women think this week, because I figured some women will probably be like, yeah, my body, my right. And then other women are probably like, they got this completely wrong. So I'm going to love to watch from the backside of this whole thing this week as the conversations happen, to see how the women actually feel. Because my wife was really unhappy with the Hannah Hayes character.
Really? Why is that?
I don't know, because I'm not a woman, so I can't relate to what she was feeling or thinking. But I think the way she was going about it, she felt like maybe it was like too over the top, or just couldn't identify. I don't know. She just, something about Hannah Hayes specifically like threw her off, and just really she wasn't connecting with the character. I
mean, I will be curious to find what everybody thinks about it. I'm pretty open to everybody's interpretation on this one. I get what you're saying. At the same time, my wife really enjoyed it. She thought it was a really clever idea. So, I mean, everybody's going to be different, I would say.
Yeah.
And I do think it's going to be a matter of personal politics, probably. If you lean heavily into the heartbeat laws, you'll probably be in more of a against the episode, or not loving the episode. And if you're against those, I think you might be probably more understanding to what she's not doing the right thing. She's a wackadoo. And I do think that they did an interesting thing by having the preacher or pastor, whichever, that saw the baby to term and turned out to, he held to his convictions and lovingly cared for the child.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's the big thing for this episode, is that the people they were targeting would almost be forced to have to carry to term, because the Reverend obviously can't abort a baby, because that would go against everything the Reverend believes in, and his career would be destroyed. So he has to carry it to term. The governor has to carry it to term, because he's the one that signed the heartbeat law in the first place in the state. So he can't go against that, even though he tried to, and obviously swindle his way out to New York in order to have the abortion done out of state, which is still technically illegal. So we'll see what happens to the governor, hopefully. And then you had the third one, which didn't get the second procedure part of it done. So what was creepier about the whole thing was that it was the guy, the rapist in the basement, that was fathering all the kids.
That was a cool twist. I dug that. That was really cool. I like sadistic, and that was really sadistic. Not bad enough you put him in a pig mask, and all these guys are getting impregnated by a rape. Oh, geez, just crazy.
And then, of course, it went to immediately like, how does that? No, don't even want to think about it. Delete it.
I figured it out in my head. I'm like, man, so are you just making him like take a cup and go into the corner? I don't understand. Are you putting him out and then taking it manually? How are you? I kind of want to know the logistics to this, but I'm also really scared to know the logistics of how that works.
I have a joke, but I can't say it because it's a family show.
I don't know, but I giggled. The whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, it's already cool that you have a lady's got her own GIMP, but if you've never seen Pulp Fiction, this is a full-on GIMP. Just saying. Okay, so, and we also have progress in mythology, which we'll talk about shortly. I think pretty much everything we kind of thought about and we've talked about. And would you agree that it appears Ilya Koslov is the stranger, the man on the bench, the friend, Frank? I
want to retract back what you said there, and said everything we thought of. I'm pretty sure that there's tape that says that you're pretty much guaranteed that Ilya Koslov was Raymond Reddington.
That's not what I said.
I said that it could be the bench guy, but you were pretty adamant that Ilya Koslov was Raymond Reddington when we started season 7, and even a few episodes in.
Go back and listen to the tape. I knew you was gonna. I was adamant that what she was saying was that because she said the only person that can get me what I need is this person. And then she found information on Ilya Koslov and she said this person. I said, well, that's the same person. That's what I said.
Right.
I said, and based on what we have, that's the assumption I have to go on because I don't have any new information. And I said, when we get new information, I'll look at it then. But I'm not going to sit here and keep playing this guessing game every 5 minutes about who's who. Because you and I have discussed it many times. We never thought Raymond Reddington was Ilya Koslov. We figured that's probably not going to be who it is. But I have to base it on what the show has, and we can just guess. Well, guessing gets old after a while, so I want to actually enjoy the show, and that's what I told you. That hasn't changed. I didn't change that at all.
It sounds more like you've been hanging out with John and John, and you're dancing a little bit, trying to backpedal.
No, I'm not dancing at all, man. I literally told you how many times, no, I don't think Red is Ilya Koslov. I think it's an uncle, or I think it's the childhood friends, that's probably who it is, but at this point, based on what we saw, that didn't... At that point, which was the first 2 episodes, I think that was, at that point, the indication that I got from her is that she thinks Raymond Reddington is Ilya Koslov. That's what I thought. Now that I am wrong about. That's what I thought it was.
So in that logic, then you could say that I think that Red is Katarina, and therefore, but at this time and the things that I'm currently seeing, Red is not Katarina. Katarina is Katarina.
No, you flat out said you think that theory is completely dead. You said that.
I do.
Okay.
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
I went on record. I think I was maybe season 5 or early season 6. And I said, if I ever see Katarina and Red on screen together at the same time in the present day, I would consider the theory debunked. And after this week, it's definitely debunked. I
would agree with that. I feel like we have 2 theories that are debunked. I mean, other people are going to believe, there are still people that believe both, and they're more than welcome to it. I just don't subscribe to it. In terms of Ilya Koslov, I'm glad that part's answered because that makes me feel a little better about mine.
But at the same time,
or something, or a childhood friend, something along those lines, because it has to be familial to Dom. But
at the same time, it could have been written in such a way that the theorists and the tinfoil hat people and all those guys could say, well, maybe that was Red's flat and Frank was just staying there.
That's true. That hasn't. That's why I asked you. Do you feel there's enough to say that he is Ilya Koslov? Because she looks at him, and it almost, to me, the way it played. It could be just the way it played. She looked like she recognized him.
He looked like,
and he definitely recognized her.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh crap, I'm screwed." So yeah, I mean it reads from the screen and the acting and the facial expressions that she's Katarina and Frank, the bench guy, the stranger, is Ilya. And then we're back to who the hell is Raymond Reddington?
Kind of sick of that guessing game, though, aren't you?
I totally am.
Yep.
You know who he is? He's Raymond Reddington. Moving on.
I will tell you what my wife said. This is my wife, so it's not me. So don't yell at me. If I have to guess one more time who this guy is, I'm going to stop watching this show with you. That's somebody who's pretty laid back about TV shows. I'm just letting you know. If she's getting sick of that, I can only imagine what the Rabbit fans are feeling. Like, either stop toying with us or get us to the path and stop trying to tell us it's somebody else. You know what I mean? This is how many people is this now that they've tried to lead us to think that it was that person? 2, it's Raymond Reddington, Ilya Koslov. And yes, we always know that it's not that person because of how they do it, because Raymond never says, I am Ilya Koslov.
Right.
He never says that. He just, lets other people say those things. But he does say Katarina Rostova. She is Katarina, he refers to her as Katarina Rostova. So to me, that makes it fact.
Yep. So we'll have to just wait and see how it all plays out. And maybe we're all duped in the end and it is actually Raymond Reddington and the bones had some kind of DNA magic done to him. I don't know.
Even the showrunners have confirmed that it is definitely not Raymond Reddington.
No. I think it is somebody. It is I still think it is definitely a Russian definitely someone that grew up with Dom and the group. I think the real fun thing about this episode was the whole conversation between Red and Katarina, where they were talking about he was out of play. He's not part of the game. Mm-hmm. So it seems like there's some master, like they're playing. Oh, what was that one great movie back in the 80s? Where they're on campus, Gotcha, where they had to run around and they were tagging people and with Nerf darts and stuff.
That's your reference for a great 80s movie?
Well, I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Great 80s movie is Gotcha.
Good 80s movie. Fine. Whatever. I like Midnight Madness too, so suck it. Okay.
I mean, if you would have threw out like a Real Genius or something like that, all right, I'm on board. Goonies, Clue. You threw out Gotcha.
Well, Goonies doesn't have like a game part of it. It sounds like this is like a game. Like there's like a master thing going on, and there's rules that have to be followed and executed in a certain way. And I thought that was an interesting.
I think that's a very literal interpretation. I think it's very much just in our business. You don't bring in innocence. You don't attack innocence. That kid has nothing to do with anything. You're cheating.
Which is why Red followed the rules and let him go. But I think the big thing was he was upset with Katarina for going after Dom because Dom was out of the game at that point.
Yeah, that's what they said.
So
well, let's come back to that. Let's talk about this, the main plot, because I think it's a really clever story. Governor Richard Sweeney wakes up only to discover that he has had surgery and been given medication that, if he does not take, will result in his death. He's also in a room stuffed with balloons. Wait, not a room, but a storage locker at Richmond Storage. Once he finds help, we learn that he's been gone for almost 3 months. In fact, they were issuing a special election to replace him. Now, I just want to say, according to Mr. Troy Heinrichs, he guessed that it was a pregnancy as soon as the guy wakes up in the hotel room. And I say, no, I just can't believe that for as long as I live.
So Aaron's the one that goes, well, Troy's going to jump to Fringe and Brown Betty and all that other fun stuff and come with the craziest thing on the planet and not actually see like the simplest thing in front of him.
No, you're throwing a dart. It's a dart throw. It's just a dart throw. That's it.
It's a dart throw, but it was a dart throw at pink and blue balloons after the woman literally says going to change the man's life. I mean,
the note right there next to the medication says failure to take will result in death.
Yeah.
So you immediately, your first guess, you want me to believe that the first thing you're concretely believing is that this guy's pregnant based on that.
Based on pink and blue balloons and change his life.
Just balloons. They were freaking balloons.
Why are they going to be pink and blue unless you're having a baby?
Why are you trying so hard? There's no way that was anything but a lucky guess.
And because they have to have a womb transplanted into you, he's got to have anti-rejection meds for the womb. Oh
my God, you can't get any of that from what you saw in that first scene. 100%. You're out of your gourd.
100%.
You are full of it.
George Nauman, we'll jump to Special Agent Intel. George Nauman said womb is being implanted in a man on Wednesday, 2 days before the episode aired.
Calling BS. 100% BS. But whatever, and you go ahead and you live with that.
You're just mad that you didn't see it this time.
No, I wasn't mad. I really enjoyed this episode. And as soon as they found estrogen, they found an actual pill and identified it that made sense to where you would put 1 and 1 equal 2. 2 plus 2 equal, 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2.
You're so flustered you can't even remember the line.
Yeah. Once they actually find a medication, okay, now I'm on board. Now I get where you would go jump to that. But if you're to make that leap from balloons that a guy has been surgically altered to have a uterus and give birth to a baby is just bonkers. That's my interpretation of bonkers. It goes like this.
See, some people have to have that just out there thinking so that they can write stories like this. It's just that Cerrone and I are interchanneling each other. That's all.
Yeah, I don't think he wants you in his head.
Which welcome back to Daniel Cerrone, by the way.
It was a great episode.
I
really enjoyed it. I mean, there's a couple things like Liz staring at the screen. I got to think that maybe they added the picture of Hannah Hayes after production or something. So when Megan was shooting the scene, they didn't know that the picture would be up there. Because the scene where
like, hey Liz, you were just at the lady's house
where Park is looking at the screen and they show a picture of her. And I'm just laughing. My wife and I are laughing at that because it's like Liz makes no indication that she's ever seen this woman in her life. I'm like, you were just there. You had like a party at her house almost. I mean, you just didn't serve a search warrant at her house. I don't know how you missed that. So aside from like little minor gripes, I absolutely love this episode. I really did.
Which made it funnier that literally after they were done talking and Cooper's like, here's the address. And Russell's like,
I was just
thanks.
there.
I've already been there. I was like, bravo.
It's like, he knows it by the address. She can't even recognize the face. I don't know.
I just need the address. He remembers where it was just in his head. How to
I
get
know,
there.
but I'm just like, she saw the woman on the screen and made no indication that she saw this lady. And I'm just like, hello? Hey, Liz. So I gotta think maybe when they were shooting the scene, like there was no indication that a picture was there.
Yeah, or it was just shot out of order. Maybe they did that
Possibly,
scene first,
yeah.
And yeah,
it feels like a production snafu or something. But
you know what?
It's pretty funny.
Great podcast fodder.
It's so funny. All right. Well, the abduction, I can't speak, outside the little Asian place leads to Speedy Van and Wendell Willis, who happens to rent from our main villain, Hannah Hayes, the nice doctor lady who has her own GIMP in the basement. Now, GIMP, if you haven't seen Pulp Fiction, which, number one, shame on you. It's the 25th anniversary this year. Go watch that movie. But for those that haven't seen it, GIMP is basically somebody who's wearing a little suit, a little leather suit, and got a face mask on and is chained to the wall in the basement. So she keeps him as a little torture device. And this GIMP happens to be her former rapist, the one who impregnated her, and the system refused to allow her to abort her child. So she was forced to carry it to term. The next victim is James Robson. And what these guys all have in common is that each victim is an advocate for policing women's bodies through legislation. And Hannah is knocking these dudes up with her former rapist's semen. Ew.
And then I just think of those mattresses on the wall.
To paraphrase Jimmy Fallon, ew. Ew. It's a very disturbing concept. Well, it turns out that they finally realize that Hannah was to blame by the end of the episode. And when they get there, she has a gun to her rapist's head. And they spend roughly 45 minutes having a philosophical discussion. And then she finally shoots the a-hole. Which, by the way, if she wouldn't have shot him, if they would have talked her down, I would have been really mad. Because that would have felt so bogus. So I'm glad that she did.
That's the expectation thing. Like, oh, she's just going to put the gun down and then turn herself in and they'll rearrest. That's like typical television. So the fact that she did shoot him is very much Blacklist, and that was good.
Yes, but the having the conversation and not shooting her hand or while she's looking away from the rapist is totally television.
And I love the close-up shot of the gun where it looks like the trigger is all pulled back all the way. I don't know if you caught that. It was
I caught that.
It was like, oh, dude.
Pretty funny.
Maybe it was a hair trigger. I don't know.
Yeah, sure it was. Okay, and the governor leaves his estate, breaking the law, by the way, because he was raped to get an abortion.
Well, the two really interesting things about this whole concept, too, was the fact that he, when he got out of jail, filed for parental rights.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. That was actually a great twist. That's happened. That is documented. It has happened in many states where a rapist knocks somebody up, and when they get out of prison, they file for parental rights, and in many cases, they are granted. So while killing him was wrong, I totally understand why she shot him. I get it. I'm not advocating it, but if you're putting yourself in her predicament and her situation, I 100% got it. She did that for her child, so her child never has to be raised by that masochist.
Yeah. And then the other part where she was actually in jail herself and actually had the baby in prison.
Oh man, it's a sad story because, you know, and I like when they have these episodes that dance around true issues, and that has happened many times where women wanted to get. I actually know someone who went to get an abortion, was denied being able to abortion based on her term, where she wasn't her term, and was forced to carry the child to term and ended up raising the child. And it's a hard situation. You know, I don't claim to know the answers because I believe women should be in charge of their own bodies. So I'm not going to stand here and stand in a pulpit. It definitely feels like a very difficult decision regardless.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was a really, really good topic, really interesting way to display it. Yeah, I thought it was a really good episode this week. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It would have been even better if it was last week, because it would have flowed in the course of the season much better.
God, let it, dude. You need to frozen that. Seriously, just let it go. It didn't work for you. I watched that episode again, and I still enjoyed it.
You know, I actually rewatched it, and I liked the episode better because it was just not. It was not in the flow of the show. It was just I was just watching it to watch it as a standalone episode. It works great.
Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Just watch something and enjoy it?
Not when you got 8 weeks in a row in a culture of binge this and binge that.
That seems like, once again,
genre storytelling. You have to continue the story.
No, you don't. This show has always had episodes where you didn't have mythology. So that's just an expectation thing on you. We're not going to have that. Go listen to last week. We already did this.
we covered that enough.
We're not going to Marty McFly this. All right. So let's go into characters. Start with music, which, by the way, the last song was great. I really love that one.
And if somebody knows what that song is, that would be super helpful, because that's the only song I picked up this week in the show, except Shazam did not pick up the song. So I have no idea what the heck that song is. And I don't even know if it's even available anywhere, because I couldn't find lyrics or anything for it.
Really?
So, yeah. So if you know what that song is, let us know here at the Blacklist Exposed. It's feedback at goldenspiralmedia.com, or put a comment right on the YouTube video or on the website or wherever you find the show. Love to know if you know what that song is, because Shazam has failed us.
Maybe that should have been a profiling question. What was that song?
What was that
Name
song?
Name that tune.
Because it was good. I liked it.
All right. Well, let's get into characters then. Dembe, we find out he does needlepoint while on a stakeout.
Yeah.
Or crochet, whatever that is.
I'm like, is he really just doing arts and crafts in a camper?
I love the RV this week.
How do you park a camper on a side street in DC?
How do you tail a dude with an RV and he doesn't realize it? He doesn't realize an RV's been behind him the whole time.
He's too busy playing with the stereo.
That's so funny. But I thought that was a nice touch. That was a nice little, because they don't even make a big deal about it. He's just sitting there, doing his thing.
Yeah, I love how the RV pulls up and just blocks him in. That was fantastic.
And he does stop Red from killing Patrick. So there's two prominent moments for Dembe.
Absolutely.
This week. Cooper doesn't do a whole lot this week. He's just in charge of the case, kind of relaying facts, but he does throw out now that's a man who has the courage of his convictions kind of thing for the pastor.
That was a funny comment.
It was a factual comment. The guy did, because when you think about it, Governor didn't have the courage of his convictions, and his wife was trying to tell him to stay the course. Pastor said, no, I believe wholeheartedly in this. I'm going to carry this baby to term. And then he loved the child, as he should.
Yeah, it was a very Blacklister comment, because if you look at Cooper could have that same moral stance, and he could have truly meant it as, here's a man who sticks with his convictions. I took it the way he said it. It looked like he had a little bit of a smirk, like, holy crap, can't believe he went through with it.
Crazy. Yeah, a little bit like, wow, really? Because I'm telling you what, men's bodies aren't meant for babies. We can barely handle it when we stub our toe. You can't handle real pain.
Yeah, when you get that Charlie horse in your calf muscle and it doesn't let go, man, it is painful.
I have been in the delivery room and it does not look fun.
Not at all.
Not. I commend you, ladies, because I don't want to do that. That is hard. Aram, no Elodie this week, so she must be off taking care of that husband of hers.
Yeah,
wheeling him around or something.
It's a polygamous relationship. She's got to share the wealth.
There are a lot of people very upset about that relationship.
Oh, yeah. Well, one, because it's against the character playing for Aram.
That's the main reason. That's the main reason.
Two, I mean, yeah, it's still the whole moralistic thing of it with the husband. I get it that you need something to do because he's not doing anything, but at the same time, till death do you part. Honor your vows, right?
I love it when people have values. He stated that while he cast his to the wind last week. So
I was hoping you were going to pick up on that, because I was just like, did he just conflicted. Really say values?
Yeah, it's conflicted. It's very conflicted. I know there's a lot of people. I've seen a lot of scuttlebutt on the internet where they are not happy that Aram is making these choices because they feel it's out of character. And I know I said that as well. And I do agree with that. I feel like it is a little out of character. So, but that didn't happen this week. Nothing about it happened, so we can't really talk to that. We'll have to wait until some more stuff happens.
For sure.
Aram is already selling everybody on Park being a genius, though, because she's really astute about biblical figures and knows how pharmaceuticals work.
8 weeks of Bible camp. I've been to Bible camp. Not 8 weeks of Bible camp. That's a lot of Bible camp.
I did too. My grandpa made me go to Bible camp. It did not stick. I remember most of it, and a lot of it was, when do I get out of here? You know, that's pretty much how I felt. Because at that age, you just want to go play.
Exactly right.
You just want to go out and play.
Where's the
summer?
canoe?
I want to learn about the Lord. But you do your due diligence, then you get out, and then you go get in trouble, and then you have to go to more Bible camp. And it's just like, it's a vicious cycle.
Right.
So outside of that, I don't know if Aram really had anything else going on this week. I don't think there's any major arc that I can remember.
Nope. Pretty much straightforward by the book. But out in the field again, which is good.
And by the way, I kept thinking about it. My grandfather he's passed away, was a Baptist pastor. So when this episode was over, I kept thinking, well, what if this happened to Grandpa? Would he carry the baby to term? And it became an interesting philosophical quandary in my head. Just thought I'd share. I'm not going to tell you which way I landed, but I just thought I'd share.
And then the baby would be your uncle, and you would have your uncle theory.
Okay, I don't even know how this works, but it's making my head hurt. Wrestler, I guess that would be. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wrestler, why don't he and Liz check the house that they had the warrant for instead of just Wendell Willis? They literally had a warrant to check her house. They would have found the GIMP, problem solved, but they didn't. There's just some shoddy police work going on here.
Yeah. In this case, if there's a separate residence for rent, doesn't the separate residence have, like, what was it? Like, if your address is, 1234 Main Street, isn't the back house 1234A Main Street? And then the warrant technically would not be allowed for the back residence?
It depends if it's actually numbered. The warrant would be for the physical address. So if it's covered within the physical address, it's covered under the warrant. If it's not, then it's not. But they said they have a warrant for that address, which is the door they knocked on, which means they should have. Regardless, police, check with your local law enforcement. I'm 100% certain of this. Would still check the house, even if she said, Wendell's out back. They would still check the house they had a warrant for. So that was a little bit like, maybe we shouldn't have thrown the warrant in here. Maybe they would take that out.
Right.
Daniel, next time, just leave the warrant out of this, because keeps me from overthinking. All right, Patrick Masada. We learned that it was because of Katarina that Patrick's parents were murdered, and therefore she took it upon herself to see to his welfare.
Like a sin eater, like someone that watches over someone that's not really their kid. I like the tie-in.
That surprise you?
Kind of, because I don't really know what to think of Katarina post coming out of the water up to today, because we haven't seen a lot of that of her. So does she have a good streak in her? We do have her helping out the lady at the, what do you want to call it? The women's shelter, after she comes out of the water. So she does have some, like, she cares and she wants to see people survive, but you could say that's the same thing about Red. He wants to see the good people continue and the bad people get taken off the map. So there's a lot of similarities there between the two of them in that regard.
All right. Well, I would say that it did take me by surprise, but I enjoyed it, especially the Katarina arc when we'll talk about her in a minute. But we do learn that she loves him, and Red and Dembe follow this kid, pick him up to use him as bait, which doesn't work, but Red does let him live. So he will move on to steal car radios another day. And
then Red will find him doing it and then say, I told you to make something better yourself, and then take him out.
Yeah, but Red didn't kill him. He could have. He wanted to. He really wanted to.
And I think that's the interesting thing about Red's growth over the course of the show is probably like a season 1, season 2 Red. Maybe Dembe wouldn't have felt like he could speak up and say, hey, you can't kill this kid. But because of Dembe's journey and coming back to Red, after his little hiatus at the end of season 6 there, then maybe Dembe has the ability to now speak up and Red will listen more. And I think that's a great character moment in growth for the two of them and their relationship.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that scene as a whole. I really I really dug because Red was very ruthless for the most part. Katarina was we got to see a little bit of her emotional side, of her interest in other people, who she cares about, what she cares about. And let's talk about Katarina. So she takes Agnes to the park as she meets her informant, Sutherland. Skip. Sutherland. It's Skip. He provides her with the whereabouts of one Ilya Koslov. And yes, I kept wondering, is that going to be Red's house or is that going to be the bench guy's house? Which house is it going to be? It's going to be somebody's apartment. And we'll come back to Ilya Koslov here in a minute. Her informant was trailed by Maratsov. I always say that wrong. And they try to take Katarina. But apparently they settle for the informant because of after the fight, they just need to get out of there. Is that why? Because I kept wondering, why did you take Skip when she's still in the bathroom? I mean, you could still get to her.
When she's still in the...
When they're in the ladies' room, they're having the fight.
At the park.
Yeah, they went in to get her. They end up just taking Sutherland when she's still in there and she didn't have a weapon at that time.
Maybe that was the fight or flight situation. Like, hey, she's got him in a headlock and she's going to kill us if we don't get out of here. So let's at least return with something because the boss man wants something. So they're more fearful for their own lives in that respect.
That's probably the only. And I know I made fun of the warrant and a couple and Liz looking at the screen, but those are more just like I'm just joking. This is probably the only thing that actually really bothered me. And I'm like, I don't get why you're leaving her. She's right there.
I was more bothered by the fact that Katarina walks off and leaves a kid in the middle of nowhere in the park.
Right.
To go wash her.
Same thing.
I was like, it's not your kid.
Supposedly it's your grandkid.
It's your grandkid, maybe. But yeah. But yeah, the fact that she just walked away, I was like, holy crap, who does that?
Well, somebody who's afraid that otherwise the kid might get caught up in it.
Yeah, but anybody could then steal the kid, especially if the kid is special and part of the story or whatever it might be.
Have a little faith in your common man. People leave their kids alone all the time, and they just turn out fine. No, I definitely am on board with you. That was just stop leaving that child.
Says the guy who couldn't find his 14-year-old today.
Right. Agnes pinky promised, so Liz won't find out about the sleeping man, though. I hope that doesn't hold, actually. That would be fun.
I'm sure it'll blurt out at some point.
Yeah, that's going to be a previously on. I have a feeling that'll come back. Okay, so here's what I loved about Katarina in this episode. When Red calls and threatens her and is basically saying, hey, I'm going to kill this kid if you don't, give me what I want. And she's like, you want the address I just bought? Which gives me the impression, because I got the impression from that she doesn't know that they are still in contact. Correct.
That's what I picked up as well.
That's the impression that I got. And that Red is looking for him as well. So she doesn't know that they're still communicating.
Which is the first time in the episode you went, brrr? Like, if that's what she's implying, then that means Red is not Ilya Koslov.
Right. Well, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
That came swimmingly over the airwaves. And then she has her emotional breakdown where she gives Patrick up, basically, and says, you know what? If you're going to do it, basically. And she says, I am done with men controlling my life. And it's just a very emotional, very cathartic, wailing, almost a lion's cry to me in a way. And I really, really genuinely love that moment and how she played it.
And it ties into... She thought of him as a son, so it breaks into that family dynamic as well. Mm-hmm. Like, not only are you controlling my life, but you're also ripping another part of my family away, and I'm just tired of my family being thrown to the wolves.
And men being responsible for it. It's just it's a rallying cry, and I really loved it because you can tell based on the performance that it was extremely hard for her, but she was doing what she felt she had to do because she was sick to death of other men determining her fate, which is 100% the character of Katarina Rostova.
And 100% ties into the story of the Blacklister this week.
Yeah.
So it connects. Does. It makes sense. It's good.
It's all connected. And she does let Patrick go, but he lives. So we're okay there. But she ends the episode with a gun to Ilya and saying, hello, Ilya. Been a long time. What'd you make of the ending?
Yeah, I think we already mentioned just the look on their faces, the way that the way she spoke to Red on the phone. I think you have to assume that the stranger Mr. Brett Cullen, the bench guy, is Ilya Koslov, which is what a lot of people speculated at the end of season 6.
As soon as he showed up on the bench.
Yeah.
That's when everybody was speculating.
We were friends for a long time. We played with her. It's like, okay, then who's Red? Damn it.
We had a lot of people mad at us that we wouldn't just say that he was Ilya. It's like, well, they haven't said anything in the show to say that yet. That's just a theory. It's a great theory. Turns out it's a great theory. But you can't just sit there and start calling him that. I mean, I can't. We can't in the podcast to do the show justice because we would be inferring our opinions into what's going on. And there was nothing in the show to say that at that point.
We can't infer our opinions into the show. I thought I did that for 6 years.
You know what I mean? You can't inject your opinion into the narrative. It has to, we have to talk about what actually is on screen.
Right. We have to be fair to all theory camps and all theory groups. And the fun part about this whole thing now is that if this is Ilya as the bench guy, as this information that we see this week makes us feel and believe, you almost got to go back to Dom's story again and go, okay, well, now we got to unpack that all over again to figure out what parts are real and what parts aren't.
See, I don't think I have to go that far back. I stand by what I said, and that time is that, and go back and re-listen to that episode. We talked about this very extensively, so I'll give you the short version.
Well, no, the big question is that it was Ilya's idea talking to Katarina. If you go by what you see on screen is on screen. That's
what I said at that point. And if you didn't listen to that, my argument was anything we actually see was what happened. We don't necessarily, like, there's a lot that we didn't see. We didn't see who went under the knife. We didn't see any of that. We just saw the after effects. We made assumptions at that point.
Yeah. And so when Ilya's saying, let's do this plan, and she's like, what, it's a bold but drastic plan. Like, why would you do that? And then you go, well, who's the third person in the equation, and where does the third person come from? Because that's the big question. And why does the third person become Raymond Reddington? That's the new question moving forward for the rest of season 7.
I don't think it's a new question. I mean, you and I have talked about this in the show several times that we felt like Katarina, Ilya did have feelings for Katarina, and Ilya and whoever Red were friends. They were possibly all three friends. And it seems like all three of them were close at one time, which makes sense. If they were childhood friends, they would know Dom, all that connection, could be a brother, could be just a neighborhood friend, could be somebody very close to Dom and his family. There's a lot of options there, but that's the impression that I got. That basically this is now, based on the information we have, you could probably confidently say that Red is a third party who we do not know who he really is yet.
And what's really interesting
could you agree with that? That that's a pretty reasonable theory.
In the conversation he was having with Patrick, he said something about how a parent, I'm trying to remember exactly what he said, but it was something about growing up with the absence of a parent and how that makes a person shape and go on with their lives. Mm-hmm. And then that got me thinking about the Tacoma house from season 1. Like, why would he blow up that house? And I'm like, well, was Red the kid in that house? And he was absent without a parent and without a family, and Dom raised him as a son.
Which would still make him an uncle technically, because then they're like brother and sister.
Kind of, yeah. But I was just kind of going back and thinking, like,
that's a good idea. I like that. That's good. I like that.
Is there more to that conversation about what he was talking about, how a child is raised? And should we take more from that conversation?
That's a really good theory. I like that. And that makes logical sense. Sure. Something happened and that wasn't connected to Katarina. That was more connected to his life and what happened to him. Something horrible happened to him, and he ended up under Dom's care for some reason.
Yeah.
Interesting. Although that would be weird. Like, how do you get that to Russia?
Yeah, I don't know. Don't know. Just something I was thinking about.
I like that, though.
Because we got to come up with new stuff now. That's the thing. It's like, damn it, new stuff.
Man, I just don't tease me with another person that he could be. I am really burned out on that. I really am. If you don't want to say who he is, then just don't tell me who he is, and just keep, layer upon layer as the season goes or as the series goes. But please just stop implying I can't do another one of those. I really can't.
I am done with men controlling my life.
Exactly. Preach. And I want to point out, Constance is called Katarina by several people in this episode, including Red and Dembe. Most importantly, Red does it more than once.
Yeah, he's clearly like knows that this is an alias for Katarina.
Yeah. He in the privacy of the RV, and we've all agreed, including listeners, have agreed that Dembe is the only other person that really knows what's going on. And even in the company of Dembe, just Dembe, he refers to her as Katarina Rostova. So in my mind, Red continues to call her by name, which he hasn't been doing much of the season, but he has done it. And now he's done it twice in an episode, in a prominent episode where it all comes together. So I think for me, she's Katarina Rostova. I can accept that and move on.
And that was a great phone call. It was classic Red. Like, and just get your little fairy godmother wings and flutter over here as fast as you can. I was like, yes, that's like Red from season 1, season 2. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I really want to know what happened between, in Belgrade still and how they're all connected. And I got a feeling the mid-season break, we didn't talk about that. The mid-season break's coming up. We don't know officially the date, do we?
It was today was released that there is going to be episode number 8 next week, off for Thanksgiving in the States, which is the 29th of November. Mm-hmm. And then we'll come back for 2 more in December. So we'll have 709 and 710 before we go on break.
Are they going to be together, like a 2-hour block?
No, separate.
Separate? Okay,
yep.
So December 13th or whatever, somewhere around there.
Not to say that there couldn't be like 9 and then 10, 11 maybe it's a 2-hour Friday, but there's at least 2 more Fridays. Okay. We're definitely on the schedule after the turkey. And
they won't be back until March.
Right.
Important to know. They won't be back until March. So that's, you're going to have a little bit of wait because they want to have the new Bone Collector show is going to air in Blacklist time slot. So they're going to put that there. So if you weren't aware, Blacklist will get a bit of a hiatus for 3 months or so.
Yeah, and just because it's back in March doesn't mean it's going to be March 6th. It might be a few weeks after that. It's still March, all the way to the end of March.
We don't have a date yet.
Which means that if they don't start March 6th, there's going to be quite a few 2-hour episodes if they want to get done before Memorial Day.
And we don't know if this is the final season yet or not.
It's true.
Or if they're going to renew it or what. We don't know any of that. That hasn't been announced, which I would think if it's going to be final season, they would have to announce it soon.
December.
Renewal, they can wait until May, but
yeah,
this is a long-running show. They're not going to wait until the last minute to say that.
Nah, they would totally screw over the fans if that was the case.
Yeah, they wouldn't do that. You're going 2 or 3 years, they'll screw you over. But you get to 6 and 7, they don't want to do that. They want to give it a proper ending. Though,
what's really interesting is that, we're coming up on the renewal, but now NBC owns 50% of the show with the 6-7 deal. And so since they own half the show now, wouldn't it be interesting if they went 13 episodes and put it on the Peacock network when it launches?
You mean the streaming service?
The NBC streaming service, yeah.
I don't think they do that. I don't really feel... I feel like that would be hard for fans to swallow. Although I heard Psych the Movie 2 is going to be on there instead of USA, and I'm still really mad about that because...
Oh, you mean on the network that they tried to put Psych on NBC and then NBC said it's not good enough for NBC? Man.
And then it went to USA and lasted for 8 glorious years.
Yeah.
I tell you, I don't know what's going on, man. Also, one of my favorite TV shows of all time. If you ever get pneumonia, Psych is your answer. We should probably move on. People don't care about what we're babbling about. Liz, she doesn't have a lot to do this episode, but I do want to say... Apparently, she can't make it 2 episodes without telling Park that Red isn't Reddington. You got to admit, that was kind of funny, right? Hey, I've got a secret. Here's exactly... Hey, new girl. I know you got a secret that we didn't get to hear about, so you called that one right. You called that right. We're not going to find out about Anchorage for a while.
How irritating is that, though? It's like, oh, by the way, he's my dad, but he's not my dad. But... I'll keep yours a secret so the audience can't find out for a couple more weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. That was some TV action right there.
Sure was.
That was prime TV. Yeah. I was watching it going, oh, we're going to do that already? Okay. I guess that's where we're going.
I mean, everybody else in the task force knows, so it is fair that she does know. Otherwise, a Rom's going to tell her, or a wrestler's going to tell her.
Maybe give her 3 episodes. I don't know. It just felt like this is her 3rd day on the job. And do we know that we can trust her with such a massive secret when basically Cooper was really skittish to tell Dana Baker about it.
Right.
Panna Baker. Dana Baker?
Panna Baker.
I just like to create names at this point. It's late. What are you going to do? All right, Park. Are you religious? We find out that she went to Bible camp. We learned a little bit about that. We got some more play with her and Aram. I do really like this character. I actually am probably about as much as Frankie at this point. Like, she's really won me over, especially at the end of last season or last series episode last week. And this week she's got some great ideas and some follow through. I like her. She's sassy.
And it's weird because this week I wasn't as super annoyed with her as I was last week. Like, and I'm trying to, like, in my head go, if I didn't have last week's episode and she just was in the episode, it felt more natural this week. I don't know why, but last week it was just like we said, it was that new girl, go away. This week it just felt like she was part of the team the whole time. I
felt like it did a good job introducing her last week. And she fit in much better this week. Not fit in so much I would tell her my darkest secret. But, I'm not Liz. But definitely she fit in. I enjoy her. She feels like she's already part of the team.
Yeah.
And I know they already made her part of the team, but what I mean by that is, to me, it feels like a natural progression. She's blending.
Yeah, way more accepting of her this week.
Yeah. Anything else on Team Park?
No, she's kind of background, learn a little bit about her mom. Hi, Mom.
Are you dying to know about Anchorage since they mentioned it twice in this episode?
I'm curious to find out what it is when it comes up, but I don't need to know it next week.
Do you think it could be a warrior gene deal?
The warrior gene thing is the most interesting concept of it all to me, because the whole DNA, like, it can't work for someone that's going to change your DNA. That line had to have meant something. It's just not something you drop in there.
Right.
Like, hey, we're at the bar watching the football game. Dude, talk about DNA today. It's like it doesn't come up very often in normal conversation.
Well, we already talked about Red quite a bit this episode, but we should explain baby formula mishaps led to Red apparently getting a bitching RV, and he and Dembe kick off with a fun little camping weekend. I love that RV.
It's sweet. We have to get something like that for next time we go.
Oh man, remember we had an RV and it just the slide out didn't work.
That's true. But this one we could actually go tail people while we do it.
We could. They'd never see us coming. Who would notice an RV following them? I don't know. I did like the restful sleep on a stakeout. Why didn't we think of this before? It's a great point.
I also love how they're having the conversation with Patrick as they're driving around town, but they have to pull over and stop for Red to make the phone call to Katarina.
Exactly. It's like, couldn't Dembe just be driving around while he's doing this? But no, we want to make sure Dembe ensures he doesn't get shot.
Let's hold in one place so we can triangulate the call versus keep moving.
This is a great line from the episode. Punishment is the crudest form of communication, but it's the only one that woman understands.
That woman.
Ouch. Ouch. Well, he does call her Katarina at other times.
Yes.
Just clarifying. Tries to use Patrick to convince Katarina. We already talked about that. She has none of that, and Red does let him go because he got a lead. What was the lead that he got from Patrick? Or from her?
The lead he got from her was that it was going to the other Russian guy in order to get the address.
Mertzerov or whatever his name is.
Mertzerov, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And once he finds Sutherland and he kills Mertzerov and basically tells Sutherland, you tell me and I will get you medical attention because you know me, you know I'm good from what I say. You tell me where she's going, and finds out that it's Ilya Koslov going for Frank, going for his buddy.
Killing Mertzerov, though, that was a great line. It's like, hey, it's something you don't have. And he shoots him, and he's like, backbone's always stronger than wishbone.
Yeah, like, backbone over wishbone every time.
That's so good.
That's a good line. I like that. Which brings us to Ilya Koslov, which we've already talked a little bit. Morning, ma'am. So we're going to come back to this because I just want to know, I want to get it clear because we kind of fumbled around it earlier. So do you think we can now put to bed what I think most fans have already surmised, that whomever is the current Red, he isn't Ilya Koslov? We can agree on that?
He is not.
Correct.
Yeah, I would say after this episode, definitely he is not.
Okay. And that is who the stranger is, which has been the theory since he first showed up.
And I'm so glad we can finally call him Frank and not the stranger or the bench guy.
Yeah, we could just call him, well, we can call him Ilya now, right?
Well,
we think.
We think.
Or do you want to wait until there's confirmation that was actually his apartment?
I would say yes.
Okay. I feel like it has.
There's heavy interpretation that would imply that this is Ilya Koslov.
Right.
But technically, he did not confirm it, and we know that Red has a flat. And so Red's like, oh, crap, Katarina's coming over to my house and it ain't clean. The cat might have pooped everywhere because I haven't been there to take care of it.
And I will say, even though you and I have talked, off air, on air about this a lot, that we knew Red isn't going to be Ilya Koslov, most likely. And that a lot of the things that we didn't see in that Ilya episode are probably the pieces we need to make it all work. I was really comfortable with if it ended up being Ilya and just being a cooler story or a lot of backstory that we don't know about. That also made me really happy because I felt like maybe, I had several moments, and definitely the episode you brought up earlier where you were talking about when I mentioned the whole, she pointed out Ilya, da-da-da-da. There were some moments where I'm like, oh, maybe it is Ilya and we can just move on. I had moments of sheer joy over that. How about you? I gotta feel there were several moments this season where you felt like, well, I guess it's possible. Even though you know in the back of your head it's not gonna be, you still kind of feel like, well, maybe it's possible. And how did that sit with you when you did think that, even if it was just for a blip?
Yeah, Rosviet, I'm like, there's no way it's Ilya. And then at the end of the season, after Robert Diaz, I'm just like, well, he said Katarina, so I guess it is Ilya. Show's over.
This season...
And I was happy with it. I truly was. If Red was actually Ilya Koslov, I'd be like, I'm good. I just want to know what happened between the two of them.
Right. That's the big secret. So now I think at least me, I'm not going to speak for everybody because I know a lot of people have their theories and then you're welcome to them and I'm not going to say anything negative about them. For me personally, I feel like there's 3 real players here where we're at now, Ilya, Katarina, and whoever Red is. And it's really just trying to figure out how Red fits in with those two. Is he the childhood friend? Is he someone taken in by Dom? Is he a brother? Is he
Sea-Duke?
Is he Sea-Duke? And why? Why is he there? And how does he know some of the stuff he knows? These are all the important things to me.
Sea-Duke is now the number 1 lead that we would have if we're following the leads just like the FBI people do, because he's the one that tortured Red and had him for a long time. So he could maybe have gotten this information out of him to eventually take over as him.
Are you happy we have this development and you feel like, okay, that's what you needed to move the story forward?
Yes, because at least it moves the story forward. I hate when we're just sitting in the quagmire of the molasses and just spin and spin and spin. At least we know that. Well, we don't know that because they could put in a filler episode next week and not actually go with the hanging chad and keep the story moving. But the hope would be is that we're going into 708 with the story keeping moving and Brett Cullen in again next week and we have to go save Frank. Because that would be the logical next step you would take in a storytelling mode would be, it's the Save Frank episode.
You want to know my guess?
Sure.
I have no knowledge whatsoever. My guess, just based on how Blacklist has played this angle before, Red and Dembe get there in time to save Frank, so she never gets to ask him the questions that we want answers to. Or they get there and he's dead.
Or Red gets there and all of a sudden, you know what? All 3 of us are here. It's like old times. I love everybody and we hug it out.
You know what? Let's talk about what happened when we were, in Belgrade. We're here. Let's just do that.
Yeah.
And then Cooper will show up and say, hey, what's going on? Then everybody leaves again before they get to finish it.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's this year's I love you moment. We kid.
Well, guys, I really, even though we've picked on it a little bit here and there, overall, really genuinely love the episode. I love the overall story. Love the mythology. This is probably I think this might be my favorite episode of the season so far.
Ooh, that's heavy.
Seriously.
Favorite of the season?
Man, I love the Blacklist. And how they made it all work and just the reasons. And I'm a sucker for the GIMP because Pulp Fiction's a top 5 movie for me. So you have a guy in a GIMP mask and I'm just kind of like, all right, I'm in.
I don't know. I like the shootout at Dom's house in episode 2.
I did. But in terms of sheer story elements, I feel like I got a lot of really interesting stuff in this one. It just went to places that network TV doesn't often go to, and I think it took a lot of chances, and I dug it.
I really like the automatic garage pull, fling you across the room into the mattresses on the wall thing. That was fun.
That was great. I want that. I wish when my kids were younger, I wish I would have had those installed in bedrooms. Just like, what'd you say? Give me your phone. Like, drop the knife. It'd be like, drop the phone. Give me the phone. Okay, well, guess I got it. And you know what's sad is your kids are younger, and now you're kind of thinking about it. You're like, is that a DCFS call? If I had one of those installed, would they show up?
Well, I guess no one's going to be supporting us on Patreon anymore. That's Patreon, patreon.com/the Blacklist GSM. We like to call it the Blacklist Exposed Plus.
That's funny.
Special big thanks to our honorary blacklisters, Doug, Patricia, as well as our task force members, Lacey, Marilyn, Judy, and Sharon. All these people get a cool gift from us, and you can get a cool gift too if you donate at the $20 level or higher. 10 people pull the trigger at $20. We can do the show in video, and I know you guys want to see what this looks like when we banter back and forth. It's totally fun.
And if $20 is too steep, our $5 level gets you early access to all special episodes and interviews before anybody else. Like the special interview I'm going to be posting about December 1st for John's movie, Taking Lives. It's something I did for my other podcast, Hollywood Outsider. And I'm going to be sharing it with the Blacklist Patreon supporters. So thank you guys so much for supporting us. That's Patreon. That's patreon.com/the Blacklist GSM. Click the dollar on your podcast app or on the link in the show notes and fill the fedora and get some awesome rewards for yourself. Stay tuned. Much more show coming up right after this.
What if you could live your life without limits, where every desire you ever imagined could be fulfilled? Experience Westworld, a show where every human's dark side will be revealed. After watching each episode, listen to Beyond Westworld, a podcast featuring humans and hosts from around the park, diving deep into HBO's illustrative narrative. Every hero has a code, and so do you. Download your itinerary and the show at beyondwestworldpodcast.com or your podcast app of choice.
Hey, Dembe Loyals, this is Hisham Tawfiq. You are listening to Blacklist Exposed on Golden Spiral Media.
Welcome to Red's Rhetoric, that part of the show where we feature two great scenes from Red himself, and then you get to vote which is your favorite in our online poll over on the website or right in the link in your podcast player. Our first clip comes as Red talks to Liz about camping.
I never took you for a camper.
Oh, I acquired it after a rogue wave in the East China Sea swept a shipping container full of baby formula right off the stack. Chinese mothers don't trust the domestic stuff, purity issues. So I sneak in America's finest at a small markup. So Chie-Shven was so mortified that he lost my shipment that he offered me his little home away from home as partial recompense.
Your life is so weird.
Our second comes as Red questions Patrick in the camper.
Why are you boosting car stereos and consorting with riffraff?
Still hard sometimes, I guess.
A young boy robbed of his parents and all of the comfort and security that is every child's divine right. You'd think that's as bad as life could get. And here your fairy godmother promised to keep you safe. Well, we're going to put that promise to the test.
Which was your favorite? If you love the camping life, vote #RedCamper. Or if you have a secret angel watching over you, vote #RedGodmother.
By the way, I love that Westworld promo.
Do we do a Westworld show?
I think we do. Yeah.
It's coming back in April.
Remember when they called me a dick on that show too?
They sure did.
I'm starting to think maybe it's just me. It could be.
But
All
hey,
right,
hey, Blacklist will be gone after the 13th of December. So you have from the 13th of December until sometime in March to watch 2 great seasons of Westworld on HBO. It looks amazing in 4K if you want to get the 4K to watch it. And you can listen to us for that entire time and our 20 episodes that we have covering that show, plus a couple special bonus episodes on the front end.
Yeah, I think we're going to bring theories back too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're just going to go for it. We're tired of it. We're just going to... We'll keep it in a separate little area so people don't get bothered by it. But we're going
if you're going to miss us, January and February, it's a great way that you can hang out with Troy and Aaron for 2 months and get ready for season 3 in April.
And now it's time for Special Agent Intel. Linda Hood Cheney, I am ready for a Scotty return to blast Red for letting Katarina get too close to Scotty's granddaughter. Solomon can then come back too as her bodyguard. Oh, I would love that.
Dude, Solomon versus Katarina would be fun to watch.
I would watch that. I really miss Solomon. I mean, he's still out in the wind. I was kind of hoping he'd be back by now.
Do you think Solomon and Dembe could make up? They can drive the RV together?
No, I don't think that would happen.
Whatever happened to his daughter, Dembe's daughter and granddaughter?
Yeah, we haven't heard anything more about that, huh?
Yeah.
Hopefully she comes up before the show's over.
Maybe she's on the island with Marvin Gerard. I don't know. Banana plantations for everyone.
That'd be okay.
Grace Norman said, any NCIS fans out there, I don't know why, but the whole time Park was reminding me of Agent Lee from season 5 and 6 of NCIS. She joined the team, was never liked, and then was discovered to be a traitor. Spoiler alert. For those that haven't seen NCIS.
I've seen one episode. Ever.
It's on CBS, so I haven't seen any.
CBS has Hawaii Five-0, man. I really love Hawaii Five-0.
I watch Blacklist on Fridays.
Yeah, I get that. I used to watch on Netflix, then CBS went and did their whole, everything's got to be on our streaming service, and I guess I'll never watch Hawaii Five-0 again.
Nope.
No, I never watched it, so I don't know what that means, but I like her, and the team likes her, so it's not the same thing.
But you could be a plant. You never know, for somebody else.
No, absolutely. You never know. Ikish Tilly on Reddit. How about this for a Blacklist flashback episode? I would like to see a flashback episode about Red and Dembe. Although I can't accept other actors to play younger Red, I want to know what happened with him after Red rescued Dembe. Dembe was 14 years old, and at this time, in no use for Red. The only thing we know is that Red gave him an education. We know Dembe has a daughter and a granddaughter, and we know nothing about the mother of his daughter. Dembe had a family, but for some reason he threw everything away and devoted his life to Red. Why? I would be very interested and excited to see, was there a loyalty test that Red had done for Dembe before he hired him? I want to see how Dembe handled that loyalty test, because till now, we have only seen people who failed and were killed, and I want to see the opposite. Why and when Red decided to tell Dembe the whole truth.
I mean, we got the origin story of Dembe, but yeah, I think maybe another Red Dembe again, this is the whole fill in the pieces, right? Between Red becoming Red and, the 25 years in between. So I think that'd be kind of fun. Yeah. Why is Dembe the only one that knows this stuff besides Dom, who apparently is still in a coma?
I mean, he's still hanging on by a thread, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what?
Clearly hasn't gotten better. Clearly hasn't died. So I have to assume he's in the same place, hanging out in a lumberyard.
Does anybody check on this poor guy, or we're just all busy solving? And why? I did get this from several people, and I feel the same way. How come Red never stops by Liz's apartment? How does he not know that Katarina is babysitting this kid?
If there is one thing about season 7 that irks the living crap out of me right now, it's that.
Yeah.
The dude dropped. I mean, yes, at the end of season 6, you can say that he was giving her space, and that's why he's not coming by anymore. And Liz is coming to him more often than he's coming to her. But Katarina's out there. Like, you got to stop by and check in.
Yeah. I just have that's a hard pill to swallow when he's always been so protective. And now he knows Katarina's out there and knows she's gunning for him, but hasn't once checked the apartment building. Had somebody else check the apartment? I mean, we have no indication to think that has been checked.
And in season 4, he was all like, ooh, baby, and wants to hold the baby and be with the baby.
Mm-hmm.
And now Agnes is back, and maybe he's just like, ooh, no, I don't do toddlers to 5 years old. maybe that's it. Like, I'll come back when they're like 12.
I suppose it's possible, but that is definitely a legitimate issue with this season. That is kind of a stretch. Like, I like that they've incorporated Katarina into Liz's life in this way. It's an interesting way to do it, even though we kind of knew it was going to go that way. But it's stretching it to think Red or one of his compatriots wouldn't check on her at some point.
And now with today's episode, the whole season 7 poster where it says, "He said not to trust him." I'm like, well, maybe Red's actually the bad guy. Like we've always said, he's a bad guy.
Well, he is a bad guy. Sometimes he's a little too nice. And then what was Cooper talking about? That the good is outweighed the selfishness and whatnot.
Yeah. What was the point of this blacklist? It's like, maybe Red just wanted to do good. I was like, okay, kind of shrug it off there, Coop. Sounds great. That tagline on the poster has me really interested now, because if he's really that, it seems like Red and Katarina are very much at odds against each other. Mm-hmm. And the question is, for some reason. And the question is why, which then leads to the belief that Red is using Liz as leverage to stay alive, because he could kill Liz and piss Katarina off.
Yeah, I feel like if she ever felt Liz was in jeopardy, she would already have gotten her out of there. So I'm not thinking that. It's more of those two have a personal conflict. Correct. I don't think Liz will be caught in the middle. She might get caught up in the aftermath, but won't get caught up in it. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode, man. 6 seasons are on Netflix, so now is the time to recommend The Blacklist to your friend, your enemy, your neighbor, your nanny. And when you do, please also recommend they listen and subscribe to the Blacklist Exposed podcast. All those case profiles can be found at blacklistexposed.com, and everywhere great podcasts can be heard.
You could even stream it and beam it right into the RV. Both the show and the podcast, for that matter. It's got CarPlay.
I want
Android
that
Auto.
I want it.
More great Aaron Troy Hydrings. Follow us on your favorite social media outlet. I'm at Troy Heinrichs. He's at Aaron Smirks. Together, we are at The Blacklist GSM. We are also at Westworld Fans on Twitter. So make sure you check that out if you want to come listen to Westworld during the hiatus and talk about the show, the podcast, or what you like to eat when you go camping.
Big thanks for listening. Don't forget to answer our profiling question. And this is kind of just a yes or no. With this week's episode, is there more than enough evidence to confirm for you personally that this is the Katarina Rostova?
I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to say yes too, but I want to know what the audience thinks. I want to know where we land when it's all said and done.
Well, then we'll find out next week.
All right. Take care, guys.
Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs. That's at Troy Heinrichs on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinrichs.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsider.com or on Twitter at 5popcorn. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of the Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.
You ever made a pinky promise?
Not with you.
With anyone? Like when you were a kid?
Oh, I'm sure we have, yeah.
You know, when we were kids, we did the blood thing.
We did the blood thing. Cut your hand, shake on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then I got older and I became kind of a germaphobe. And now I want to go back and get tests from all those people I did blood promises, blood oaths with. Like, just to be sure. You never know.
I was just doing it to see if I had superpowers because of Stephen King. It seems to be a thing. You hold hands after you cut them.
Well, I guess you should have checked when you were 19. Maybe. All right. I love this episode. You like that? Huh?
That was nice.
Dun, 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 dun.